Straight ahead on 12 News, checking for an invasive pest.
If we found an emerald ash borer in Maple Grove, it would be very bad.
Then, an incentive to encourage healthy eating on food stamps. But first, rocky weather takes a toll on trees, cars, and homes.
It's kind of shock and just like, what happens next.
12 News starts right now. It was an unwelcome wake-up call as high winds brought trees down on power lines, cars, and homes in the middle of the night.
The cleanup started before dawn and it's still underway. As Delane Cleveland reports, one Robbinsdale family was hit especially hard.
They were the strongest winds I've seen in the limited time I've been in this area.
An overnight storm powered by heavy winds left a path of destruction in the form of toppled trees, smashed cars, and downed wires.
My mom is kind of shaken up.
Or in the case of John Nelson, a substantially damaged house.
It sounded like someone drove a truck through at about 3:45 this morning.
This home along Chowan Avenue in Robbinsdale belongs to Nelson's parents, Roger and Dan. It took a direct hit from the tree in their front yard.
I saw the window was gone and the ceiling was caved in, and the drywall has actually cracked a lot worse since it's happened.
According to Robbinsdale city officials, much of the damage within the city centered around trees.
There looks like there's a substantial number of trees, not quite as many boulevard trees, but quite a substantial number of private trees that have either been uprooted or have suffered substantial structural damage.
Power outages caused by downed power lines were another area of concern.
Actually, we've had to leave some of those in alleys until we know that they don't have any energizing to them.
Crews around the Northwest Metro spent much of the day trying to clear debris left over from the powerful storm to make the roads accessible. It's an unwelcome first day of summer for those caught in the storm's path.
My I had chest pain. He's at North Memorial. He should be home this afternoon.
A bit of good news in an otherwise chaotic day for the Nelson family.
What happens next? I mean, I know what needs to happen, but it's just, getting a plan together and getting it done.
Well, as of this afternoon, Xcel Energy says that more than 130,000 customers were without power following the thunderstorms. The National Weather Service says some parts of the state got 4 to 5 inches of rain in just a couple of hours. Mike and Alex?
All right, thanks, Delane. And if it's not the weather, there's another threat that could kill thousands of trees.
The emerald ash borer is already in Hennepin County, and experts say it is slowly spreading. As Sonia Goins explains, for the first time, Maple Grove is doing a tree inventory to check for the invasive pest.
This is our kit, yep, so every volunteer gets this kit.
Bright yellow safety vest.
It shows us the bark of the tree.
And a very long checklist.
We just identify them and measure them.
These volunteers,
we wrap it around a tree.
Are tracking trees.
So she's got 2 trees here. We're going to be looking for cracks in the trees. We'll look for holes in the trees, cavities. We're going to look for splits in the trees.
They're checking all trees, but they're keeping an extra close eye on ash trees.
The emerald ash borer is here, and it's just a matter of time before it comes to Maple Grove, and it actually could already be in Maple Grove.
It's a pretty bug.
The emerald ash borer is small.
It's just a deadly bug.
But it could do some big-time damage.
It hatches, it eats behind the bark into the cambium.
It's already killed millions of trees in the United States.
If we found an emerald ash borer in Maple Grove, it would be very bad. We would probably lose a large population of all of our trees from the emerald ash borer.
Right here is 5 inches.
That's why this count is so important.
I'm going to estimate it at 8 inches.
They want to know just how many ash trees are in the city.
This is one of the zones.
So they know exactly what they're dealing with when the emerald ash borer shows up.
This tree is really a huge tree.
Volunteers are using technology to track the trees.
Then we have to choose the species of the tree, and then we just have this nice drop-down box.
Volunteers really do have their work cut out for them. They'll be inspecting 23,000 residential lots and city boulevards.
Each group of 3 people gets a map of their area.
Tracking trees can be tedious and very time-consuming.
Right now, we're thinking we're probably on about a 3 to 5 year timeline to get this inventory completed.
Those volunteers will be looking for something they hope to never find.
We're at a very high risk right now in Maple Grove because they say once that bug is within 10 to 12 miles from where you live, that you are a high risk. 4 inches.
In Maple Grove, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
And Maple Grove is looking for at least 300 more volunteers. If you are interested, give City Hall a phone call.
There is a new wrinkle in the road construction on Highway 694 that you should know about this weekend. Highway 252 will be closed in both directions at 694. Weather permitting, the closure is due to start at 10 o'clock Friday night. At the same time, westbound 94 will be closed at 694. Workers are tearing down and replacing an interstate bridge there. It should be open again 5 a.m. on Monday morning, but there will be more lane closures as the project continues through November.
There's a new incentive to encourage low-income families to eat healthier this summer. Olmsted's Fresh Market in Crystal is one of 3 grocery stores offering an incentive for food stamps or SNAP recipients to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. If they buy $5 or more of produce in one transaction, they'll receive a $5 coupon toward their next purchase of produce. The University of Minnesota Extension will also host food demonstrations like this one throughout the summer.
I think as grocers, anything that we can do to incentivize SNAP recipients to eat better, eat healthier, I think is good for all of us.
Federal funding pays for the $150,000 program. It runs on a trial basis until the end of September. Well, some teachers in the Osseo School District are being put to the test.
And they're wrapping up an intensive training program in science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM education. The goal is to take what they've learned back to the classroom.
So when we drop the golf ball down the tubing, it runs down the tube, hits a switch, which then turns on our music, it turns on our lights.
Teacher Beth Cashman has a colorful and complicated contraption designed to perform a simple task.
It is a complicated way to kill a fly.
Down the hall,
pull the little tube out. There you go.
Other Osseo District teachers are tweaking their creation, the Breakfast-O-Matic, which pours milk and cereal. Their projects are called Rube Goldberg machines.
Rube Goldberg was an engineer and an artist, and he tried to find the most complex ways to do the easiest task.
The focus for teachers is on learning the process, engineering design, and critical thinking through this graduate course from St. Kate's University.
I think what it does is it helps them to see how they can incorporate different strategies, teaching strategies, project-based learning, and also going through some of the process learning that we don't always have time to do in the classroom.
Here we go. Oh, it's not going again.
Things don't always run smoothly, and that's okay.
Okay, so it runs. Okay.
It's the process of learning and designing that teachers will take back to their classrooms and share with their students, whether or not those students eventually become engineers.
Well, I think we're just teaching them all the skills they need to be successful whatever career they go into. Communication, design, just taking the time to think about the next step in a process. I think that's important no matter where you go.
Through the coursework, the teachers are earning graduate certification in STEM education, and Boston Scientific is funding the project. You'll never know what you're going to find over there, some of those contraptions.
A mousetrap,
yes,
right in the middle of it.
Very handy in a couple of those. Still ahead, the weekend showcase includes art, disasters, and beer. We'll explain in just a moment.
And later in sports, a look ahead to this weekend's big Dudley Budweiser Softball Classic in Brooklyn Center.
But first, it's a look at your AccuWeather forecast.
In the weekend showcase, art, beer, and historic disasters.
In Maple Grove this weekend, young artists are showing off their creativity at the Maple Grove Arts Center.
This is an oil pastel piece that I did in my drawing studio class.
That's good. This is the second annual Grove Student Art Show. About 10 young artists from around the area are participating in the event. There are different types of media in the show: paintings, sculptures, even artwork made from duct tape. One student was very creative, designing, get this, a pyramid out of pencils. The artists say they are proud to display their work to the public.
I think it helps to give students more exposure, to get more involved in the art community, and then to just have their work seen by people in the community is pretty important.
Some of the art pieces are on sale. The Grove Student Art Show runs through June 29th. In Brooklyn Center, it's a celebration Surly beer lovers can raise their glass to.
Surly Brewing Company opened up their tap room at their Brooklyn Center brewery Friday afternoon, and after a 2-year legislative battle, Surly will pour up glasses of their own beer at their brewery. This Brooklyn Center tap room will be open until the new destination brewery and tap room opens in Minneapolis and St. Paul in 2014. Owners decided they didn't want to wait, though, until the new facility opens to serve up their signature brew.
Let's get some people out here. It's a lot of fun. We want to, of course, keep people familiar with our beers. When they're out-of-town guests, give them set hours that they could bring them in.
The tap room will be open on Thursdays and Fridays from 3 to 9, and then on Saturday and Sunday from noon to 9 p.m. The best-selling beer is Furious, but there are more special releases planned. And at North Hennepin Community College, a new exhibit focuses on photos, video, and written accounts of Minnesota disasters, from blizzards to floods, tornadoes, fires, and even mining disasters. Some of Minnesota's greatest stories of strength and survival are highlighted.
History is not just about boring dates and names of people. History is also about things like disasters. And I'm hoping that this excites some students about Minnesota history.
And that exhibit runs now through August 11th. Well, coming up, we will hear how some new graduates are looking ahead.
But first in sports, John Jacobson previews one of the nation's biggest men's softball tournaments of the year. That and more when we come back.
John Jacobson with Sports Now. Looking forward to a big weekend of softball in Brooklyn Center, where they have 24 teams there for this tournament.
And all across the country they come from, right?
A lot of teams from throughout the country. 16 from Minnesota, though, so a lot of local flavor to the tournament as well. Brooklyn Center is the place to be this weekend for fans of big-time slow-pitch softball. The annual Dudley Budweiser Classic gets started tonight, Friday, with some of the nation's top teams and some of Minnesota's best as well. I talked with tournament director Warren Bellum about the Dudley.
We've got the 3 best teams in the country here, and the local teams are going to take a shot at them to see how they do.
Tell me why this year's Dudley is so important to the local teams, the Minnesota teams that are playing in this.
Well, there's 16 teams that are basically from Minnesota that aren't as highly ranked as the 3 major teams here. The 3 major teams already have a World Series position. The teams below are playing for a World Series position. And basically, in the classifications of C and D, these 2 teams are playing to see who's going to win a world berth, which is at Disney, in September for both the C and the D classification.
You always have good crowds up here on the weekend. You hope that being that there are more Minnesota teams and a lot more at stake, that you'll draw more of a crowd in some of these games?
I really hope so. It's lately it's been a little different with the way the games have broken down, but now with this added element of the C and D teams, the local teams, getting a chance to advance to a world tournament through this, it's really brought up the interest in the Twin City area.
Centennial Park here in Brooklyn Center is the main hub of the tournament, but you use other fields in the area as well.
Yes, in our provisional format, we'd have to go over to Becker and Crystal, and obviously we use Evergreen, which is here in Brooklyn Center. Hopefully, all we'll have to use is Central and Evergreen in Brooklyn Center to complete this event.
And finally, the games start when, and the championship is when?
The games start Friday night at 5 p.m. here at Central Parks, and over at Evergreen at 5:30. There's 3 games over there, and there's 5 sets of games here at Central. And the championship game is slated for 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
This is the 31st year for the Dudley in Brooklyn Center. While they're hoping for the weather to cooperate at that tournament, young ball players got some games in on a muggy Thursday evening. Osseo Black hosting Blaine in VFW Baseball. Blaine's Tyler Allenberg with a single to center field in the bottom of the 4th inning. Jason Hayek scores, and it's 3-0 Blaine. An inning later, Garrett Gillen also finds a good spot as he bounces one up the middle to bring Ben Beckman home. Blaine's lead grows to 5-0 at this point. Still in the 5th, the key hit here. Tyler Reichenborn goes opposite field down the right field line with the bases full. All 3 runners score on a triple for Reichenborn. Osseo tries to battle back in the 7th. Cody Ellingson drilling it to deep left field. It brings 2 runs home, and Osseo pulls within 9-4, but that's as close as they get. 9-4 Blaine is the final. Also in VFW ball, another Osseo squad facing Rogers. Tyler Lindman's bouncers, a bat hop there. Chad Weaver was on second. He never hesitates around third and scores a 1-0 Osseo lead in the 2nd inning. Still in the 2nd, Nathan Cross delivers a base hit to right center. Lindman scores. It's 2-0 Osseo on the Cross single. Some defense here as the bunt is popped up. Osseo gets the catch and throw to first for the double play. It's 2-1 Osseo at this point. They break the game open in the 5th. Dan Johnson singles up the middle to score 2 runs. That's part of a 9-run outburst in the 5th inning. It's Osseo beats Rogers 11-1 in 5. And that is a look at sports for this Friday.
All right, thanks, John.
Yeah.
Still ahead, how some new graduates are looking at the future.
We'll be right back, and we'll hear from some of them in just a moment.
A release of butterflies symbolized summer and a sense of renewal at Copperfield Senior Living Center in Robbinsdale. Copperfield recently upgraded its garden, courtyard, and patio, which are popular places for residents this time of year. According to Native American beliefs, if you tell a butterfly your wish and then release it, that wish will come true. The pomp and circumstance of graduation is over for thousands of local high school students. Now, many of them are prepping for the next steps in their lives.
But the focus at graduation, of course, is on the challenge of the future. And here's some of the motivational messages graduates of 2013 heard.
Plan ahead. Make time. Dreams do not happen by doing nothing. Dreams come true to those who work hard, have determination, and are willing to plan ahead and make time for their dream.
I believe we cannot afford to fail, that we cannot afford to not have that imagination, not only in Washington, D.C., but in this room today.
Together, we'll keep discovering what is possible, because we are the pioneers of our future, and our future is limitless, so let us be limitless.
Think for yourself when overwhelmed by the thoughts of others. Be a leader. Be persistent. Stay humble. And do not be afraid to stay true to who you are.
The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's green where you water it.
Interesting thought. I think
Yeah.
that was said by a rapper.
Good wisdom.
Yeah, and I don't think most people remember what was said maybe at their graduations, but maybe we should look back and see. Once in a while.
Exactly. And you recognize a couple of those students have been standout students
Standout
right here
students
on Channel
up there.
12.
That's
so.
right. They are leaders. That'll do it. That's it for now. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you back here tomorrow.